right. Hello, everybody. This is Andy Hunsucker, one of the hosts of the IU Cinema podcast, and I am on the phone with Luke Sanders of the Indy Film Fest, and he's going to tell us all about the festival this year. Thank you very much for joining us, Luke.
Thank you.
So what is your official title at the festival?
My very formal official title at the festival is Director of Festival Operations. So this would encompass just about everything that is required to run a film festival from beginning to end. So from opening up our submissions to films, to managing the incoming submissions, to the hardest part, which is carving out a festival of 100 films out of the 650 to 700 that we typically receive, up to running the festival itself. So the 10 days of everything that we've worked all year for, coming up at the end of July, that's kind of the peak of what we do.
Yeah.
So things are starting to heat up for sure as we get into July.
Very cool. So you're the new Lisa, essentially, is what my question was.
I'm not sure that anyone could really replace or attempt to replace Lisa, but I do my best, yes.
Yes. Well, let's go ahead and talk about this festival. The Indy Film Fest is coming up just in a couple weeks here. And so what are the dates of the Indy Film Fest, Luke?
So we kick off July 18th, which is a Thursday. That's our opening night party. And run through that weekend, the following week. That next week closes with July 27th, which is a closing night party. That last Sunday, was the 28th, we screened the best of films. So the films that have won the awards in their particular categories, as well as the audience award winners, are screened on that final day. So 10 days of films, 100 films total, just about all the films being shown twice.
Yeah. So what's the balance between like features and shorts in there?
We have around 25, 30 features, and the remainder being shorts organized into shorts programs. The divisions that I alluded to a minute ago in the audience awards are American Spectrum, which are films originating here in the States, the World Cinema, being originated outside of the United States, and the documentary features, which a film can fall into documentary irrespective of where it's from, financed or filmed. So there's those three divisions, as well as the Hoosier Lens, which fits into American Spectrum, but calls out some significant connection to Indiana. Primary actors, photographers, primary cast on it, having some connection to Indiana there. The division between shorts and features is cut at 50 minutes. So 49 minutes, 59 seconds under falls into shorts, 50 minutes and over to features.
Cool. So let's just talk about your opening night, because this is sort of your big event here. On Thursday, July 18th, the opening night party here at 7:30 p.m., you're going to be playing Drinking Buddies. Drinking Buddies,
yes. And in a very appropriate venue, too, I might add.
Yes. Yeah, so you've got so is the films at the Indianapolis Museum of Art, and is the after party at Sun King? Or are you simulcasting them? How's that going to work?
It is. We'll truck on over to Sun King for the after party. Given that most of the film takes place in or around a brewery in Chicago, it seemed quite appropriate.
Yes. I got to see this film at South by Southwest, and it was my favorite film of the festival. I really loved it. I thought it was, like, everyone who was in it, I thought it was among their best work, including the director, Joe Swanberg.
I have to agree. It's a very, to blink and you miss a cameo, right? But it reminds me, I think it was Scorsese in Mean Streets. He's just there for a few angry seconds and he's gone.
Yeah, Swanberg had a great moment in that film. But I also hear that he's going to be down for the event?
That's correct. Yep, he'll be joining us for Q&A after the film, and then for the party afterwards. So very excited to have him here, of course.
I follow him on Twitter, and I know he's a big beer drinker, so I imagine the fact that there's a brewery involved has something to do with his attendance.
Yeah, we can't claim credit for the stars aligning, but it seemed like this one was meant to be.
Yes. So let's talk about how people get into this event and the festival as a whole.
Absolutely. So the opening and closing nights are a little bit different, as are the evening events during the week that we can talk about in a second here. For the most part, though, tickets are available online, indyfilmfest.org, or at the box office. Opening and closing night are kind of a package deal that includes the party and the film together. So for the opening night that we've just kind of talked about, that will be a separate ticket. If you are, if you think you can really land yourself among the ranks of the true film fans, we have all access passes on sale that will get you into absolutely everything during the week. We have some fans who have set very high attendance records in terms of films viewed throughout the 10 days. So if you think you are someone who can match or break those, I definitely recommend you go that path.
Yeah, I think anything, if you're getting up into the 20, 25, 30 film range, you're pretty impressive throughout the whole week.
I will personally salute you if you can get up into that range, but the record might even be higher. I don't know if there's an official record keeping, but there are films that a lot of them you're not going to have the chance to see anywhere else.
Exactly. Yeah. So, so what? I mean, how much is this going to cost somebody if they want to do like the all access pass and want to get everything? How much is that going to cost?
So that's $150 for the 10 days, including, so that's opening night, closing night, all films during the week at the Indianapolis Museum of Art. The things that it also does get you into is the evening screenings throughout the week. So we have a couple programs. If you follow us either through the 5x5 grant, which we won, which is for the popped-up cinema, which are free screenings around town, or our roving cinema program that we've been putting on for a little bit longer that matches up venues to the films themselves. Field of Dreams at Victory Field, The Big Lebowski at the old Jillian's Bowling Alley. We wanted to amplify that, but to extend it during the festival. So on weeknights during the festival, we'll have films matched up with venues all around the city, a lot of them in the downtown area, starting on Friday the 19th with a fantastic documentary called Medora and Jim at the Harrison Center. So those are separate tickets as well, but the All Access Pass, again, gets you into absolutely everything.
Okay, so the bulk of your films are at the Indianapolis Museum of Art, and you do have a few satellite venues. Let's just talk a bit in general about the satellite venues and where people can expect to be around town during the week.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first one, Medora at the Harrison Center, fantastic little documentary about the losingest high school basketball team, I believe, in Indiana history.
Yep.
And then we'll have the filmmakers in town for that, as well as, I believe, a few members of the team.
Okay.
People who are in the movie as well. There's the Libertine on Monday downtown, the Tibbs Drive-In on Tuesday, Indiana Historical Center on Wednesday, Idle Jorg on Thursday, and then the Big Car Service Center on Friday. So these are all films that correspond to their venues in a way. Full listing is up on our schedule, but these are the events that I personally am most excited about. So very excited to see how these all turn out.
So are these screenings, are these like exclusive screenings? Like you can only see these at that event, or will these be mixed into the regular screening schedule at the Museum of Art?
They will be mixed into the regular screening schedule as well. So if you can't make it out on one of those nights, you will be able to catch them at another time during the week.
Okay. So let's talk about some of the films that are going to be at these special events. So Medora we spoke about, and I think that one's going to be at the cinema here in the fall, but we'll have to wait for the schedule to come out for that. But
sure.
Let's talk about Hey Bartender, because I had heard about this at South by Southwest. I didn't get a chance to see it. So tell me what this film is about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about the resurgence of craft bartending as it's kind of popped up within the last 20 to 30 years. The rise of the cocktail, the guy behind the bar in the vest and the bow tie, follows a few of these practitioners, really, the word that comes to mind, as they kind of go about their day-to-day and making the best cocktails in the world, which there is actually a competition for the best cocktail bar in the world.
Okay.
Not to give anything away, but that is a real award, which is apparently very hotly contested. But it just kind of follows not only the bartender is kind of the confidant behind the bar, but sort of the way that the art has researched in recent years, and very compelling, very interesting, and it does a really good job of following some of these individuals around.
So is that a documentary?
It is.
Okay.
It is a documentary.
Okay.
And if the way I've described it, doesn't give it quite the justice it deserves, but you can see why the Libertine would be a good venue in which to screen it.
Okay, is that a bar? I'm not familiar with that one.
It is, yes. It's right downtown here in Indianapolis, and is pretty well known sort of for its own brand of craft bartending.
Oh, cool. All right, so on the next night there on Tuesday, July 23rd, you have Lost for Words. What's that film about?
Mm-hmm. This one, to sum it up very briefly, would be kind of a Romeo and Juliet set in Hong Kong.
Okay.
A U.S. Marine falls in love with a local woman. For all sorts of reasons, their romance is a difficult one, but we will actually have cast and crew in from Hong Kong for this, so it should be a very, very great event as well.
Okay. We also have Out of Print. The title sort of gives me a sense of why it's at the Historical Society, but maybe you can explain further.
Absolutely, yeah. This one dives into the way that sort of say modern society's complicated relationship with the printed book. Actually, in their synopsis they stated the statistic that only one in 5 American adults finishes a book a year in any form, electronic or printed.
Yeah.
So it explores that kind of complicated, troubled relationship with the printed word and how that's evolving. So again, you can see the appropriateness of that venue.
Yeah. So what about Fall and Winter at the Idle Jorg?
Yeah, Fall and Winter is a documentary. It's an environmental documentary, but beyond that, I would say the greatest thing about it is the photography. It is they're not doing themselves a disservice when they talk about the photography being spectacular. So it discusses kind of the global crisis, pollution, droughts, limited resources, and kind of talks about what the world could be if we kind of reverted back to some of the methods and some of the ways of thinking of the past. So absolutely beautiful film.
Very cool. And then the last one here on Friday night is Detroit Unleaded. So tell me about that one.
Yeah, so this one is, if my description of the last one sounded very serious, the description of Detroit Unleaded should sound a little more lighthearted. They're two brothers who own a gas station up in the Detroit area. Again, it's one of a little bit troubled romance. One brother is very sort of overbearing and overprotective. The other one falls in love with a girl who maybe he's not supposed to be and kind of tries to hide it from him. But it's a lot more lighthearted. It's not quite as say overbearing in its themes. But this is the one that I think is going to be really fun as well to be shown at the Big Car Service Center. So perfect venue for this, right? If you're familiar with this venue, it is a converted auto garage, so it has the slide-up doors and everything.
Yeah.
So
that's very cool.
That'll be a fun Friday night.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about these other films. And I've seen, the first year I went to the Indy Film Fest, I was just starting this whole, podcast thing, so I wasn't really familiar with very many of the films. Now I'm sort of a little more experienced and have been to several film festivals, so I've seen, a handful of these already, or at least familiar with most of them. So we can kind of go back and forth a little bit, but give me a pick, like one film that you feel like people just have got to see.
That's a tough question. I'll give you two. Actually,
we'll keep going. We'll go back and forth. So you
okay.
Give me your first one, and then you can keep giving me more.
Okay, first one we haven't mentioned yet is Blood Brother. It's a documentary. It's at 7 p.m. on Saturday, I believe. That'll be at the IMA. It's about a man who kind of leaves on a journey to find himself, ends up in India at was essentially a hospice, I believe the word would be, for terminally ill children. And this movie, I think if you ask anyone in the festival staff, I would be remiss to say that it wouldn't be at least nominated for an Oscar in the documentary category, if not win it outright. It's a fantastically moving movie. I would say that out of what I've seen in the Film Fest anyway, if you come see one movie, that would be it.
Okay.
One best doc at Sundance, I believe, too.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Very well regarded.
Yeah. Well, one that I can recommend that I've seen, there's an animated film here called The Day of the Crows. It's a French film. I saw this at Chicago last year, and I thought it was just beautifully animated, really interesting, had a nice story, and kind of fun as well. Like you could take your kids to see this movie if you wanted to. I really enjoyed that one.
Absolutely. The animation is gorgeous. That's part of the whole kind of the idea is harken back to the Saturday morning cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have something a little bit kid friendly. Given that, say, the modern independent filmmaker doesn't always have an under 13 audience in mind, we'll have some kid friendly workshops that morning as well to kind of accompany that film. So that's another great just kind of part of the day that Saturday at the IMA. But absolutely excited to see that one. I've seen just trailers from it and seen the animation, which looks amazing.
Yeah. So give me another one. What else are you excited about?
So one, I'm actually going to come back to one that I haven't seen, but one that we haven't talked about either. That just the premise of it alone excites me, which is our closing night, Don John.
Ah, yes.
Of course, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's directorial debut. He also wrote and stars in it about a young man and lives in Jersey, has his priorities very in order, and essentially has them narrowed down to the point where his priorities include, let's say, I think it's family, cars, working out, his buddies, and then women, of course. He's more entranced with, say, the pornographic, objectified versions of women, and this film, from what I understand and what I've read about it, kind of make some interesting points to that. But then one day he meets a very real woman played by Scarlett Johansson, and let's say that complicates his worldview a little further. So I've not yet had the chance to view it. Very excited to see it, but I believe that this will be your first chance by several months to view it anywhere in the vicinity of Indianapolis.
Yes.
So pretty incredible. Even I'm surprised that we managed to bring this film here, but I certainly ranked Joseph Gordon-Levitt among rising stars. So excited to see kind of where his vision lies behind the camera as well as in front of it.
Yeah. This one, I believe this one did play at South by Southwest. I did not get a chance to see it there. I think it literally played one time there and then it was gone. But everyone who saw it said it was really great. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that one.
Absolutely.
Another one that I saw at South by Southwest that you guys have programmed that is definitely, it's not sort of the standard festival film, and I'm sort of excited to see that you've scheduled it, is one called The Bounce Back.
Yes.
This is sort of a very raunchy yet sweet comedy about a couple that they broke up, but they're going to be in the same town at the same time for a weekend, and their friends are sort of trying to keep them away from each other, and it's incredibly crude but incredibly sort of heartwarming at the same time. As I was watching this movie, I couldn't believe that it worked. I couldn't believe that the film actually came together and made me enjoy it, because the parts should not fit together, but they do somehow.
I couldn't agree more with your assessment there. The a secondary theme of this revolves around an air sex competition, of course, which
Yes.
is exactly what it sounds like. So when you say that there's some touching moments that come out of a violent, I guess, air sex off, a competitive air sex face off,
Yes.
that might cause a few eyebrows, but it works, and it is somehow quite a touching little love story.
Yes. So I'm going to ask you about let's talk real quick about your shorts programs, because you guys always do a great job of sort of getting the shorts into interesting groups. So tell me about the groups of shorts that you guys have this year.
Absolutely. So that's maybe one of the toughest programming decisions is finding shorts. So not only who we feel are the kind of the cream of the crop, but be able to organize them into categories that make sense thematically, that make sense with the pacing, as well as the length. One great thing about having shorts programs, I think, that any festival could claim, as most do show shorts this way, is that, especially for individuals who are a little bit newer to independent film, not sure maybe quite what you're getting into, or perhaps just like a little bit of variety, I've always recommended the shorts programs because, it's kind of like they say about the weather in Indiana, if you don't like it, just wait 5 minutes.
Exactly.
So there'll be 6 to 11 shorts, typically organized in 11 categories. So there's, I think one to check out would be Misfits. So that has stories of individuals who maybe fall out of the beaten path a little bit. Another one I wanted to highlight is the Hobbyists program. So individuals who are very, very dedicated to their particular cause or craft or what have you. One great thing about the short is that it's not burdened by a lot of exposition, a lot of wrapping up stories. You can just pick one very specific subject and do it very well. And a local filmmaker named Jonathan Frey did a short documentary about it, a local artist named Kip Normand, which has played around town here a couple times, but very, very interesting look, very well filmed, well paced. Great little film from local Indianapolis filmmakers. So very happy we could include that in the programs as well.
Yeah, and I think, what I find fascinating about the short film program is I do watch a lot of short film myself, but as I'm looking at these, I haven't seen a one of any of these short films. So I'm actually really excited. And I totally agree with you that not being forced into it's got to be at least 90 minutes. Whatever your story is. Not every story fits into 90 minutes. So if you can find a story that fits into 10 minutes and just focus on that 10 minutes, it actually frequently becomes a much more compelling piece of filmmaking.
Yeah, absolutely. You just have time for one theme, one twist, one big reveal, and then it's done. I think I would much rather see a great film condensed down into 14 or 15 minutes than, a mediocre one stretched out to 60 or 70.
Exactly. All right. So I'm going to ask you about a few of these films that I've been looking over that I am just really interested in. So there's one that the title caught my eye right away, and reading about it a little bit, it's really kind of fascinating. It's called They Wore the Red Suit. What can you tell me about that one?
Yes, this is a very interesting one, again, from a local Indiana filmmaker. So we, as individuals, say, who've grown up in the United States, grown up with the idea and the image of Santa Claus sitting on Santa Claus's lap, we kind of just take this as a given. This is Santa Claus. This is the way that Santa Claus acts. He says, ho, ho, ho. He asks children what they want for Christmas. What this documentary does is explore kind of how and why and how it keeps happening that Santa Claus is Santa Claus wherever you go in the United States for the most part. That there was kind of an original man behind all of this who was sort of the Santa Claus prime, if you will.
I like that term.
And there are the fact that there are many who kind of take the donning of the red suit much more seriously and again dedicate much more, say, intensity to their craft than I think a lot of people would really think, given that they maybe just see Santa once a year, bring their kids, and forget about it. But fascinating documentary that the filmmaker, the way he describes it, listening to him talk about kind of the journey by which he came to film this, he sort of stumbled upon almost by accident. It wasn't something that he had devoted his entire life to finding out. It was, an instance where he just wanted to know more about this, and the story just kind of unraveled as he learned more and more, and the documentary does the same.
Yeah. The other one that looks really fascinating here is one called The K Effect, Stalins Editor. And I love the idea of, the idea of sort of how propaganda works fascinates me. So I'm hoping that's what that's about.
I've not yet had the chance to watch that one, unfortunately. That's one of the ones a couple down on my list. Mm-hmm. But it is about this individual, his name is Maxim, who is friends with Sergei Eisenstein, kind of one of the, principal propagators, the idea of montage and all of that sort of thing. So it reveals his story through some of the footage he shot, some of the kind of reels of his that have been recovered. So unfortunately, I've not had the chance to view that one yet, but very interested to see the the kind of take on, say, that era of film when film was seen as almost more of a weapon than entertainment, right?
Yeah. All right, so let's get out of here on this question. Final tips: anyone who's wanting to come up to the festival, what should they know if they've never been to a festival before? What should they prepare for?
Include much more than just seeing the film around the whole experience of coming to see a film. So whether that is same for the Q&A afterwards, participating in discussion, which there are some films that touch on, really quite polarizing issues. We want to foster a little more around that, whether it's a serious discussion or going to a party afterwards. We want there to be a little bit more around the whole idea of film than sitting in a dark room with strangers for 90 minutes. Mm-hmm. So I would say if you are coming up or if you're local in Indianapolis and planning to view a film, make a little bit of, say, maybe a day or evening out of it. I think that film for the sake of film is of course valid, but one part of our mission that we really tried to bring out to this festival, matching up the venues, having things all around town, is to really make it more than that. So I think that would be my best tip if I had to just give one piece of advice.
Okay. Well, we'll get out of here on that. Luke, thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And I'm really looking forward to the Indy Film Fest, one of my favorite events every summer, the last few summers. So I will be there extensively. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. See you out there.
Yeah. A Place for Film is recorded at WFIU Studios in Bloomington, Indiana.